Yes, hello friends, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. And welcome back to Chelsea News, of course. The series here on the channel where I upload multiple times a day, depending on what piece of news pops at what time. Today, more drama. Romelu Lukaku has seemingly annoyed everyone involved. That doesn't sound like him, does it? Inter, now very frustrated with him, apparently going cold and ignoring their calls. Juve, willing to pay more money now and hijacking the bid, a bid that Chelsea would be interested in. Lukaku has gone quiet. He said he would never contact Juve, but now as he's talking to Juve, Inter are annoyed. Good for Chelsea, ultimately, even if he's being a problematic individual, because more suitors, of course, serious suitors. People increasing their bids. What we want to hear, of course, preference for us would be to sell him to Saudi Arabia for 40 million quid flat and absolve ourselves entirely of those high wages. But it's up to the player himself to actually agree to sign somewhere. Though, yes, we're going to get into all of that as well. And a little update on the pre-season squad and what happened with Cherki, why Chelsea want him all of a sudden. So, yes, thank you for joining me. Of course, I upload multiple times a day, and if you think you might you might like to continue watching the content, I'd urge you to subscribe and hit the bell notifications icon. Drop a like, why not? Make me feel better. That's very sweet and kind of you. You've probably noticed the sneaky little QR code down there. This video is brought to you by OneFootball, of course. Now of all times in the transfer window where you're following a club like Chelsea, you'd want to utilise the totally free services of OneFootball on all your devices or all your devices. Easy for me to say. It's totally free. I use OneFootball on my phone. It keeps me updated with alerts, with transfers, any form of Chelsea news, and of course, when the games start again, it'll give you the lineups when they come out. It will give you match statistics and of course results and fixtures, everything you need basically. It's totally free on football and it helps the channel by you clicking the link in the top of the description, so please consider doing so. Thank you. So yeah, I spoke about Lukaku a little bit at the top of the video there. We'll get back to him in just a second, but I'm just going to pop over quickly to Scott Trotter's article on football.london to talk about, the Chelsea, Rayane Cherki's positive feedback to Chelsea and how we got here with him, basically. Wasn't many rumours about him before until all of a sudden there was great momentum, sort of building up. What happened? Essentially, hopefully this is going to shed light. Chelsea's pre-season, is well underway and the transfer window is wide open, as they say, as the second week of July comes to a close. Christopher Nkunku, Nicholas Jackson have trained under Maurizio Pochettino for the first time. Yes, the new, that is a good feeling, man. Seeing our new attackers, like a second striker / number 10 and new striker arrive and just be wearing the training gear. Yep, there they are. There's our players. Hallelujah. We've got defenders. Midfield is an issue, of course. We're trying to sign Caicedo. We're not talking about him in this video. Well, much. But, just to see new attackers in a team that just doesn't score goals is ultimately a sight for sore eyes, isn't it? So those two arrived to be trained under Maurizio Pochettino for the first time. Of course, Lukaku, more on him in a moment. Ziyech, Aubameyang won't be returning until next week. I can't talk today. Also, we have under good authority, and Matt Law reiterated this a few times on the London is Blue podcast, great podcast, that Romelu Lukaku just won't return. He'll just go on strike. He won't return to Chelsea. So there's that. And of course, we spoke about Callum Hudson-Odoi, and maybe a couple of times yesterday, a few teams want him. Forest, Everton, Fulham. These are all teams that want to sign Callum Hudson-Odoi, as well as Lazio and Serie A. There's almost certainly more clubs as well. He's training alone with the under-20, or not alone, he's with the under-21s, and we can assume that a deal will get done for Callum. Very sad, though. We can reflect on that more when it happens. The Blues have still more business to do in sales and want to add more players to the squad, such as the aforementioned Moises Caicedo. But Pochettino plans will have to begin to come together with the West London side friendly in just days' time. Of course, we fly out to the USA and we play at Wrexham. It's looking less and less likely that Moises Caicedo, should he sign, and I still think he's more likely to than not, then he'll have to probably fly out by himself, one would assume. And then it's starting to look a little bit closer to last summer in terms of pre-season, which is not good. There's no shortage of news to follow or debate at Chelsea this summer, and the writers Scott Trotter and Bobby Vincent discuss all above in the latest episode of View from the Bridge podcast, which is a podcast that they do. So they spoke about players like Rayane Cherki, and Bobby said this is interesting. What Cherki is that Chelsea probably don't have is more than a attacking midfielder. If Pochettino is to play the 4-2-3-1 we expect, he's probably the most natural number 10 compared to anyone with Chelsea in the squad. And though we all assume, just to pause that for a second, though we all assume Nkunku will play a number 10, he's very much a second sort of striker. He's actually quite close to Kai Havertz in terms of his best position, but we won't go too close to that. Maybe a bit close like Dele Alli, which would actually make sense, because where Dele Alli played in the number 10, he actually played very close to Harry Kane for Pochettino's Tottenham to great success. So, maybe he'll do a little bit more like that. Of course, Mount has gone, and Pulisic, it's kind of a replacement for them. Without seeing too much of him, he says he's very exciting. He spoke to a Lyon fan who could not speak highly enough of him. He said he has potential to be the greatest product of Lyon, which is pretty high praise. He's the most naturally gifted. He's a real flair footballer. Someone who is very skillful and direct. It's kind of reminding me of Eden Hazard. Of course, I put in the title a few videos ago, Eden Hazard replacement. But in many ways, he represents that kind of, unpredictable, direct, skillful flair player that perhaps we've been lacking. He goes on to say, Chelsea have spoken to his representatives about a move before they sounded out Lyon, which back in the day used to be called tapping up and was illegal or against the rules. I think there was positive feedback, so he was like, yeah, I'll come to Chelsea, mate. So the player would want the move to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea are very interested. When they watched Malo Gusto last season, of course, we did scout Gusto. We didn't just go, we need a right back to cover Reece James, let's go. Chelsea believes Malo Gusto is the best under 20, at the time, under 21 right back in the world. Obviously Reece James is 23. They thought he was the best up-and-coming right-back available, so they wanted to get him no matter what, hence buying him and loaning him back for 6 months so that you could complete the campaign. So when they were scouting Malo Gusto, he caught the eye then, Rayane Cherki, to the Chelsea scouts. So nothing is advanced as of yet, but this is someone Chelsea are very interested in. The player himself has given the nod to join Chelsea, and it's not just someone who they've pulled out of a bag or a hat and said, let's just buy this guy. They've gone, oh God, this kid's must, isn't he? If we need a number 10, look no further than Rayane Cherki. And of course, since Arsenal bought Havertz, Man United bought Mason Mount. I know Pulisic plays wide, but he's sometimes played from the middle. He's gone to Milan. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he's number 8, but he played at number 10 loads for Chelsea. He played as a forward for Chelsea. All these options are now gone. So now is the time they chase Cherki. Right, Di Marzio, of course, dropping a big story last night on Romelu Lukaku. I'm going to read rather than read an aggregation of a British headline, I'm going to read the translated version of Di Marzio's piece of news here. So, if it is a little bit peculiar in terms of the translation, do forgive me and understand that it is Google Translate that has done the website. So Juventus have come in and now are interested in Romelu Lukaku. We all thought they might have been an option, but we just assumed Lukaku wouldn't go. He'd actually said to Inter, I would never go to Juve. It just makes you laugh, doesn't it? You know what's coming, don't you? He just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop letting people down. Look, man, I'm very mindful, and we all had a very sobering and stern reminder of, openly taking the mick out of footballers when we heard, the reminder of what could be happening by the scenes of Dele Alli and how players could be struggling. But for a man who has got a diploma in PR, which he does, Lukaku, when he was like a 16-year-old, when you do like your diplomas in Belgium. It was in like public relations or something. He is terrible at it. Lukaku's attitude in recent days has annoyed Inter Milan. Here we go. Inter Milan, his love, his only love, his everything. He's annoyed them. Excuse me, just burping into the microphone there. For several weeks, Inter have been in contact with Chelsea and Romelu Lukaku's entourage to try and bring the Belgian back to Milan. Inter. Today, the Nerazzurri would be ready to close a deal with Chelsea. So that's today. That was Friday, ended last week, or working week. However, despite the striker having repeatedly reiterated his willingness to stay at Inter, I only want to stay at Inter, nowhere else. I'm not going to go anywhere else. Only Inter. His behaviour in recent days has deeply disappointed the Nerazzurri club. So he's like kissy faces at Inter. I'll only come back to you, baby. And then radio silence. Inter's disappointment by Lukaku's behaviour. At the moment, Inter are very embittered, which I didn't know there was a word. Maybe that's a translation thing, and annoyed by the attitude of Lukaku, who is not responding to either of the managers of his former teammates or his former. He's just ignoring everyone. Like calls from Pochettino, his new manager, calls from Inzaghi, calls from all the teammates. He's just gone quiet. Look, again, we don't know what's going on, but there could be a chance that he's making a decision rather than he's going through some sort of issue, problem. In addition, the Nerazzurri have discovered an opening to Juventus, despite the striker having previously declared that he would never wear the Bianconeri jersey, which of course is the Juve stripes. Inter are ready to offer Chelsea 35 million plus 5 million in bonuses. So that is 40 million euros. Now, it's not 40 million pounds that Chelsea want, but it's 40 million euros. And Chelsea, I think, would probably take it. So they're willing to pay that, but the club have found out that Juventus have offered the similar figure, but better structured. So it's 37.5 million euros and 2.5 million in bonuses. So it's the same figure, but less in bonuses and more upfront. However, the offer of the Bianconeri is dependent on the sale of Vlahovic by the August the 4th. There's a couple of weeks, over 3 weeks. They've got 3 weeks to sell Vlahovic, and we'll talk about him a little bit more in terms of potentially coming to Chelsea in just a second. Chelsea, on the other hand, would prefer to sell Lukaku quickly. Yeah, because we're going to tour. We want to just, wipe away the slate. So maybe Chelsea would be like, all right, just go to Inter. We'll take the 40 million, go away. However, it's precisely the behaviour of the striker that has held Inter and therefore Chelsea, everyone back, essentially. Lukaku has opened up to Juve. He's talking to the club through his lawyer. Chelsea want to close the sale, and Inter could meet the demands of the English club with the money from the sale of Onana. Of course, they're selling Onana to Manchester United. However, given the latest developments, it cannot be ruled out that Inter will decide to give up if Lukaku does not show a different sign in the coming hours. Beggars belief, really. It blows your mind. He's like, I only want to go to Inter. I love Inter. We got the Champions League final. It was in relatively good domestic form by the end of last season. Inter. I love Inter. Oh, Juve, don't worry about them, mate. I would never go to them. I'm going to go to you. Just sort it out with Chelsea. As soon as you do it, I'm there. Rom, we thought you sorted it out with Chelsea. Do you want to come? We've got it. Don't worry. It's all cool. You can get your wish. We can grant you your wish. Hello? Rom? And then you find out he's texting that girl, but then you'd have to be that girl. I can't make a relationship metaphor here. Point being, he's doing what he said he never would do. And that is disappointing. But is it surprising? Look, how do I feel as a Chelsea fan? Frustrated because he's behaving poorly and it's preventing a sale. But at the same time, there are clubs both willing to buy him now for, I want to say significant money, but considering the gargantuan profound loss of biblical proportions that we will have to endure, it's not that great, is it? But at the same time, like, we've spoken about it before, it's a problem that the new ownership haven't created, one that they inherited, one that they accounted for in terms of being a big biblical loss. They knew that was going to happen, and thus it has come to pass. And they won't have to deal with him coming back to training, they won't have to loan him again, they will get 40 million euros for the books for the next financial period. And they bought loads of youngsters over those 4 years for them to grow old enough to come into the Chelsea team and come into the fold. They are planning ahead, and maybe they would just rip the hand off now of Inter or Juve for 40 million euros. And that's where we're at, bro. That is where we are with Lukaku. It was always going to have drama when there is Rom, let's be honest. Anyway, I put out to you guys, I'm really interested in learning what you think about this scenario. Feel free to comment on anything, Caicedo, Cherki, Lukaku, Vlahovic. I was going to say we'll talk about him a little bit, but essentially there's not much to talk about. Romano essentially said Chelsea appreciate him, but they're not actively trying to buy him. Of course, Felix Johnson says he is... something similar, he's on the list, but Fabrizio Romano says he's not on the list, so there's a conflict of headlines of there being a list and not a list. Chelsea, of course, still really want to have a quick look, if possible, at Brewer and Jackson. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. If you do want to check out OneFootball, click the link now. It's totally free in the top of the description. Utilize it. Why not? It's an awesome, free, easy to use application for football. Oh, you like it? You might too. All right. Take care, dear sweet friends.